So as we begin this study of moles and molar mass, we first have to look at what is chemistry. And that starting point is going to bring us eventually to understand why we want to look at something called a mole in chemistry and molar mass. So chemistry can be defined as the study of matter and its changes. And in chemistry, matter has a very specific definition. Matter in chemistry is anything that has mass and volume is simply the ability to occupy space. So when we think about mass, which is related to weight, they're not identical in science because you have to take into account the force of gravity. But when you think about mass, which is related to weight, and you think about occupying space, just about everything around us is an example of matter, including we ourselves. We take up space and we have mass. So chemistry is a very important field to study because everything is related to chemistry because chemistry is the study of matter. Now, what is matter in chemistry made up of? It's made up of elements. And how can we define an element? An element is simply a substance that cannot be broken down into simpler substances. So it's the simplest substance you can have. And all of the elements that make up all of the matter in the universe are listed on the periodic table. So we're going to be referring back to this periodic table over and over again in our study of chemistry. So here, if we look at the overall periodic table, there's different versions of the periodic table. This is the periodic table that you will probably receive in class. There's different notes on it, but this is a list of all of the elements that make up the matter in the universe. And so I'm just going to read with you some of I think we'll go through the first 36 elements, just reading the names, and then pointing out maybe some other elements that you have some familiarity with, so you can see where they are on this list. Now, this particular periodic table should have elements all the way through 118 because all of the elements through 118 have been synthesized. But we're going to go and say the names, and I'm going to enlarge this periodic table so you can see the names better. And in addition to that, I think that will be very helpful so you can have a point of reference when you're not sure of how to pronounce a name of an element. You have this video that you can refer back to. So you can either repeat with me or just use this as a reference for the future. And the elements, we're going to actually follow the order that they're listed by their atomic number. And in another video in the future, you're going to learn more about what does that atomic number mean. But I'm not going to read down the columns. I'm going to actually move the screen so that we can read in order of what the element's atomic number is. So we have here, number 1 is hydrogen. Number 2 is helium. Then we have lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, gallium, germanium, arsenic, selenium, bromine, krypton. Some other substances that you may be familiar with include zirconium, which is in some jewelry, palladium, silver, cadmium, which is in batteries sometimes, tin, iodine, a very important nutrient, barium, which is used in medicine, in some medical tests to detect, it's used as like to check the organs, tungsten, which is used in light bulbs sometimes, platinum in jewelry, gold, mercury, lead. We talk about lead poisoning. Lead shouldn't be used in pipes anymore. And mercury thermometers we stay away from because that also can be a poison for the brain. Radon, very important gas. If you ever are going to buy a home or property, you have to make sure that there's none of this radioactive radon gas in that home. Radium, that's used in nuclear power. Well, actually, radium is used in testing of radioactive elements. What's used in nuclear power is usually down here, uranium and plutonium. So those are some of the important elements, and hopefully you'll get familiarity with all of the elements in our study of chemistry.